I don't know, how's everybody? Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Okay, where are we up to? We're up to over here. Where? Mal, yeah. We're up to now, Nun Chet Amud Aleph, 58a, near the bottom, 12 lines from the bottom. 12 lines up from the bottom. Omar Mar. V'loi bezug shebetzavoroy. The Braita said, Avoyotzeheo bezug shebeksuto. So the Eved cannot go out with the bell that's hanging on his neck, even though it's an ornament. But he could go out with the bell that's attached to his clothing. So the Gemara doesn't understand. Zug shebetzavora amai lo. Dilma mifsik va'ata le'atuye. Why don't you want him to go with the bell around his neck? Because it might break off. And he's gonna pick it up so he can return it back to his master, right? He's too scared. So then zug shebesukto nami lechesh dilma mifsik va'ata le'atuye. So you should have the same worry about the bell that's hanging on his clothing. So the Gemara answers, Askinon, the Micha Bei Mumche, that we're talking about the reason why you're allowed to go out with a bzug shebeksuto is because it was sewn professionally to the beged. And that's why we're not worried that it's going to fall off. And therefore, we let him go out with it. Now, the Gemara brings as a proof to that, Rav Huna B'Rei Rav Yeshua, that we had before. They said, Kol shu arag logazu. Anything which is woven, they didn't. Now, there we were talking about things that anything that's woven will allow the water to get through. And therefore, we're not worried that she's going to take it off by the tefillah shel mitzvah. So therefore she was allowed to carry it. But here the Gemara is saying that also included in that statement was kol. That word kol, anything that's woven is not a problem to carry on Shabbos if it's part of your clothing or part of your hair. That whether you're tying your hair for chatzitza, or whether you have bells which are woven to your beged, in regards to carrying, there's no gzeira. That's why it said, kol shehu arug. In regards to all the gzeirot, if it was arug, they didn't have a problem. And the reason is because it was well fastened onto the beged, since it was done professionally, it was sewn professionally onto the beged. Says the Gemara, Amar Mar, Lotete behema. What's the end of that bright? Lotete behema lo bechotam shebetzavara. The animal can't go out with the seal around its neck. V'lo bechotam shebeksuta, v'lo bezug shebetzavara, v'lo bezug shebeksuta. Now with the bell on its neck, now with the bell on its clothing. You know, they sometimes put clothing on the animals. If you have a bell hanging on it, or you have a seal on it, none of these things allow you to let the animal walk out. Zev is there. Ein mikablim tuma. Both types of bells, whether they're a bell on the body or on the ksut, they're not mikabel tuma. Why? Because the rule is that any ornamental thing that is an ornament for an animal is not mikabel tuma. Okay? The zug de behema ein mikabel tuma, says the Gemara. The zugad behema is not mekabel tuma. How could you tell me that? V'reminu zug shebehema tmeina v'shel delet tehora. A zug of a behema tmeia is tmeia. A bell of a behema is tmeia. V'shel delet, but a bell that's attached to a door, since the door is attached to the ground, the hole which is attached to the ground. So all of it altogether is earth, and anything that's attached to the earth is not mekabel tumah. So the bell that's attached to the helm, which is built on the ground, is not called a keli to be mekabel tumah, and therefore it's not mekabel tumah. Okay, but we already see that a bell of an animal is mekabel tumah. So the kasha, the problem, is already clear. It has already been indicated in the Braita, right? But now let's continue the Braita. איפה כתוב את זה? No, so the Gemara it was asking, you told me it said zev ze en mekablin tuma right before that. So the Gemara says v'zug behema en mekablin tuma. How could you say that? We have a Braita that says that is mekabel tuma. Okay, but now let's continue in the Braita. Shel delet v'asol behema. Okay, let's say it was being used for a door, which is not mekabel tuma. And now you hung it on an animal's neck. And now you designated it. From now on, it's going to serve as Elsie's bell. Okay? Tmeah. From now on, it's going to be Tmeah. Shel behema ve'asor ledelet. But if it was an animal's, and now I hung it on the door, even if I attach it to the door, and I made sure I built it in very strongly with nails, tameh. It remains with its original tumah. And you're not able to remove the tumah that was in it. Why was it tameh? Because it was made for an animal. You can't, once something is already susceptible for tumah, you cannot change it just by putting it into a door. Why? All the kelim could become susceptible to contract tumah with thought. But once they already are susceptible, okay, they will never remove, that susceptibility will never be removed, only if you actually change the thing. Not just change its location. Okay, I took it off the neck of the animal and I placed it into the door. You have to actually make a change in the thing, but nothing changed. It's still that bell, the same function. And therefore, the tumah won't come off. Okay? But anyways, all over the whole entire Braita, one of the Braita's main points is that a door is not mekabel tumah and an animal's bell is mekabel tumah. So how can we say in the Braita before that it's not mekabel tumah? So the Gemara answers lokasha. Hada itle inbal, hada letle inbal. If it has an inbal, what's an inbal? The little clapper inside, the noisemaker inside the bell, then it's mekabel tumah. Why? Because it's a keli. But that's what the second Braita was talking about. A real bell that had the clapper in it, clang, clang. Therefore, it has a function to let people know, whatever it is, to make noise. And therefore, it's mekabel tumah. The first Braita that we spoke about, which is very important, the Braita that said that the behema cannot go out with the bell on its neck or the bell on its ksut, and they're both not mekabel tumah, is dealing with a bell that doesn't have the clapper, and therefore it's not mekabel tumah. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. Manav shach. Imanahu afapidoletle imbal. If it is a keli, mana means a vessel. Okay? Why is it a vessel? Because it's a tachshit for the animal, and you're excited, you're happy with that, that's enough to make it tumah. So then why does that need a clapper? It's a nice ornamental thing even without the clapper. Ilav manhu. And if you're going to say no, being a tachshit for an animal, being you write something nice for an animal, that doesn't make the cut. That's not enough to make something be mekabel tumah. So the Gemara says, Invil machshav limone. So if it's not a tachshit, so what does it help if it has a clapper inside? Okay. Maybe the Gemara over here felt that a tachshit might do something for a behemah. So the Gemara says, so what's the clapper going to make a difference? If it is, then it is. And if it isn't a man, if it's not a tachshit, this noise thing is going to make a difference in the ornamental value. So the Gemara says, yes. So the Gemara is saying like this. The bell clapper is what makes the bell into a keli. Not because it makes it ornament. An ornament it was beforehand. The Gemara is answering like this. Ornamental value, your animal looks just as good with the clapper, without the clapper. It's very cute, very nice. But that won't make a keli be mekabel tumah. If a keli is just an ornament for an animal, that's not enough to be mekabel tumah. So therefore, the only way for it to be mekabel tumah is if it has a different function. Okay, it has a real function that it serves people as some sort of, they're able to do something with it. Oh, that's a clapper. A clapper makes a bell an item that is a vessel, a keli for the mekabel tumah. Now you might say, what do you mean? If it's not a keli, it's not a keli. If you don't like this little round thing, it doesn't hold thing, whatever, so then it's not a keli. Well, just because it makes noise. Noise is enough to be considered a keli. So the Gemara says yes. How do you know if something makes noise? That noise functionality is enough. The meaning has ended because someone left. I'm not sure. Maybe he's still on the piece. Still going? No. What?
I'm guessing, was Michael on?
I don't think he was on yet today.
Could be went on. I don't know. Took it off.
Maybe everybody went off.
No, let me just send it back to them real quick.
Okay, sorry everybody. So the Gemara is saying that the Gemara is saying yes, this makes something into a keli, noise. Where do you see that? Shenemar kol dover asher yavo ba'esh tavidu ba'esh v'taher ach b'meni da yitchata. Now, over there it's talking about kelim that the Jews got as the booty from the wars, the spoils of the war in Midian. So there it says, any item which has gone through fire, let it go through fire and it'll become tahor, which means hagala, right? The way that it absorbed, that's the way it will expel its contents. However, b'meini dayit chata, but it has to become purified in the mikveh, right? So, in order to be mitaret from the tumah of met. Oh, now afilu dibur yavo va'esh. Now the word kol davar, you shouldn't have said davar. Kol asher yavo va'esh. Kol davar was extra. It's teaching you that you know what needs tahara from tumah to met. Anything which has davar, dibur, anything which makes noise, that gives it status as a keli. Okay. So therefore, the bell on the animal's neck that's the difference between the two braitot. One Braita said it's not Mekabel Tumah because it didn't have the ornamental value for an animal. That's not going to make it be Mekabel Tumah. But if it has a bell clapper and it makes noise, then it will. The Braita that said it's not Mekabel Tumah was talking about a bell without a clapper. It was just an ornamental piece, and that's not Mekabel Tumah. Okay? Got it? So the Gemara says, B'mayo kimta, b'deletle imbal. So you're telling me that the Braita that said, the first Braita, that it's not Mekabel Tumah, doesn't have the clapper. Ema mitziata. Let's look at the middle phrase in that Braita and try to explain it. It said, V'lo bizuk shebetzavro, avol yotzehu bizuk shebeksuto. Ze v'ze mekablin tumah. The Braita shifted and started speaking about an Eved. And it said the Eved cannot go out with the bell on his neck, but with the bell on his ksut. That's what we learned at the beginning, because the bell on the ksut is well attached. So he's not worried that it's going to fall off. The other one might fall off and he'll carry it back to his owner because he's scared of his owner. So Ze v'ze mekablin tumah, and they're both mikabel tumah. Morning. We are now in the middle of Nunchet Amud Bet, line pretty much in the middle of the page. The first line, the first word on the line is Idelet le inbal. Delet le inbal. So the Gemara is like this. Idelet le inbal. Now, what type of bell are we speaking about by the Eved? So, if that Braita, we said the first Braita by the Behema is already speaking about what type of bell without a clapper. So then the second stand, whatever, the second part of the Braita, it starts shifting to Eved, it's talking about that same bell. So that's the halachas about that bell by a Behema. Now we're going to tell you about that bell by an Eved. So it's the same bell. And you already established that bell, the reason why it's not Mekabel Tumah by the animal, because it's the one that didn't have the clapper. So all it was an ornament. But by the Eved, it says it's Mekabel Tumah. Now why is it Mekabel Tumah? Says the Gemara says, Either letli inbal mi Mekabel Tumah. Is that enough to be Mekabel Tumah? Okay. The Uriminu, now you'll say, why not? Yeah, it is. Because an ornament for a human is enough to be Mekabel Tumah. It's not an ornament for an animal. But the Gemara says I have a problem with that because I have another Braita that says, Ha'oseh zagin le'machteshet ule arisa. If someone makes bells for a machteshet was a chopper. And they used to chop different types of smelling bisamim, incense. And so since the Mishnah teaches us that they are called yafel bisamim, we say that in Pita Makdoret, that when you chop the bisamim, the noise is very, very beneficial to create a good incense. How does that work? I'm not 100% sure. But that's the way it is. We say it. They are called yafel bisamim. Okay? So therefore, they used to create, when people used to make good incense for their houses, to burn whatever it was, bisamim, so the chopper used to come with a bell. So while you chop, you hear like little ding, 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 clink, clink, clang, clang, clang. Okay? Very nice. So someone makes a bell like that. Vila arisa. Or they make it for the baby crib. So the babies should have little noises, right? The olden day, what do they call them? I forgot what they call them today. Not Playmobil, whatever they call around the, right? Ulimit pechot tzvarim. Or they had it for the coverings of tzvarim. So when the rabbi came for the children, the kids knew that the Rebbe was walking in because there was a little noise. It was like the bell, the old bell. The old bell. Ulimit pechot tinokot. Or they had these little bibs and blankets that went around the baby's neck, and they had bells. So if you lose your little baby, you want to know which room he's in playing in. You hear that little cling thing, the old intercom system. Yesh lahem inbal. So it says if there was an inbal, if there was a clapper inside, tmeyin. Ein lahem inbal torin. But if it doesn't have a clapper, the tahor. Nitbelu in bilein adayin tu matan alehen. Then it adds a very important halacha. It adds a very, very important halacha at the end. And we'll talk about this halacha a little further. This is not so important right for this second, but it says that if they were tamei before you took out their imbals, they remain tamei. And you don't consider them like a keli that when it breaks, it loses its tumah. Even though it lost its clapper, since it had a clapper, it's good. So what do we see over here? We see clearly that you need the clapper. The whole Braita says that. If it had a clapper, it's tamei. If it didn't have a clapper, it's not tamei. But you told me a minute ago that it's only because of the animal, right? That you told me the first Braita that said that the animal's bells are not tamei is because it doesn't have the clapper. But the Eved's bell is mikabel tumah, even with that same bell without the clapper, because of its ornamental value, its ornamental functionality that it does. It makes the Eved look nice, and he's a human being, he's not a behemah, and therefore that itself gives it status to mikabel tumah. But here we see in the next Braita that the only time a bell is mikabel tumah is if it has the clapper. Okay. So the Gemara says, the Gemara's answer is very geschmack. It says the Gemara, Hani mili b'tinuk, to the kol avidile, aval godol, tachshutu le'afagav delet le'imbal. Which means, for a baby, what is the purpose of having a bell for the baby? Noise. So if there's no noise, then there's no, then the item wasn't finished yet. So it's not mekabel tumah. But the bell that they make for a gadol, for like a slave that's already an older adult, here it has a different function. The function is to look nice. So therefore, once it's a tachshit, it's going to be mekabel tumah. Okay? So now let's get this clear over here. On animals, let's wrap up all the bells, okay? On animals, ornament, if it doesn't have a clapper, it's not mekabel tumah. If it has an ornament, if it has a clapper, it's mekabel tumah because it's making noise and it's serving a function for the people to know when it's coming, whatever it is, and therefore it's mekabel tumah. For a human being, however, if it's for a baby and it doesn't have a clapper, so it's not being used as an ornament, so it needs the clapper. And if it's for an gadol, even without it, it's already an ornament, so it's going to be mekabel tumah. And there's one last halacha in the Braita that says that a bell that already had a clapper and it was made for a baby, so it was already mekabel tumah because now it's making noise, and that's enough. We looked at from the pasuk. That's enough for it to be mekabel tumah. Will remain tamei and susceptible for tumah as long as the bell is intact, even if the clapper was removed. And that's what the Gemara is going to speak about right now. Omar ma nitlu in belein adayin tumatan alehen. So the Gemara says, "Lamai chazu." What do you mean? What could you use it for anymore? This is talking about a bell that was made for the babies. So its entire purpose wasn't to look nice in any way. It was just simply, the purpose is to make noise so you could find the kid, or to make noise for the baby in the crib, whatever it is. It's a noise maker. So once the noise leaves, so what could you use it for? And since you can't use it for anything, it should be reckoned as a keli that broke. You say, it was a great keli, it was mekabel tumah. I know, but the halacha is that once a keli breaks, it's not mekabel tumah anymore. So the Gemara says, Omer Abai Hoyul She'ahedit Yochel Achzirui. The Gemara says, it's not broken. Because a regular simple person is able to attach the clapper. So since you can just put it back in, it's not considered like it's off. It's like it's basically there. So it didn't really break. So it still is looked as There was no shini ma'aser, nothing changed in the item, and therefore that's why it's still susceptible and it's still mekabel tumah. And if it had real tumah on it, not just susceptible, the tumah will remain. Mativ Rava asked the question, Hazug v'ha'in bol chibur. There's a Mishnah in Parah that says that the clapper and its bell are one. They're mechubar, they're considered one. So what does it mean? The simple pshat is it means that for tumah, if you touch the clapper, it's like you touch the bell, and the whole thing becomes tamei. If you touch the bell part, the walls, the round part, the cup, then it will make the clapper tamei, because they're all one. They're chibur. They're one for tumah, and vice versa for tahara. If you sprinkle the ashes of parah dumah in order to purify them, once the ashes, the water that are mixed with the ashes, is sprayed on any one of the two parts, it will purify the other part. Okay? Now, the fact that the Tana there calls them chibur, okay, indicates that they're chibur, the fact that they're molded together is what makes them one. So that would also indicate that if they are not attached anymore, then each part is like nothing. It's like a shever keli, just like a broken shard. If you put them together, it becomes a keli, and now they become one. If you take them apart, it should be considered like a shever keli. But we just said now that we just finished saying, Abaye finished saying, no, even if it comes apart, since a hedyot, anybody can put them back together, they're still together. So the Gemara says, maybe the Mishnah was saying like this: even if you don't put them together, even when they're not attached, they're considered chibur. They're always considered together since a hedyot can put them together. Right? And the Mishnah is actually teaching the halacha of Abaye, right? So the Gemara says, V'atanya, you can't say that's pshat in the Mishnah. Why? Because we learned in a Braita on that Mishnah, Misporet shel prakim. A scissors that its pieces, it's what are they called again? The razors, the knives come off of each other. And if you remember, we had this before. The Izmel Shiritani, okay, and the blade of the razor blade, and its little what is it called again? It's a little handle. Chibur l'tumah. Ve'ei chibur l'hazah. When they're together, they're considered one to be mekabel tumah. If one part becomes tamei, the other part becomes tamei. Ve'ei chibur l'hazah. But they're not considered one to become purified. Means if they were tamei met and you needed to sprinkle or spray the mechatat, so only the part that actually got wet from the mechatat will become tahor. Ve'amrinon, and we asked, how could you differentiate between becoming tamei and becoming tahor? Manavshach. Manavshach means, what do you want? Means, which way do you want it? Ichiburhu afilu lahaza'ah. If they're one, we asked on this Braita, then even for purifying there should be one. And if they're not one, then there shouldn't be one for the halachot of tumah. So the Amar Rabba and Rabba came to the rescue, and he explained the Braita, and he said that the pshat of the Braita is as follows: Dvar Torah really midoraita b'shat milacha. When you put the two pieces of the two blades of the scissor together, and you want to use them, chibur. At that moment, they become one, ben l'tumah, ben l'haza'ah. Midoraita, they're one for everything, for becoming impure and for becoming pure. And midoraita, shelo b'shat melacha, once the barber, or whoever's using these scissors, the professional, the tailor, he stops using them, and normally when he stops using them, the derech, the normal way is to now detach them one from the other. then even if he didn't yet detach them, but since he stopped using them, shelo b'shat melacha, eino chibur, they're not considered one, even though they're attached. Lo l'tuma, v'lo l'hazda'ah, not for becoming tamei, not for becoming tahor. So the real criteria, midoraita, is, are they right now supposed to be together or not? Well, if I'm about to use them and I put them together, they are. But if I stopped using them, and the only reason why they're not separated is because I'm lazy or because I didn't get to it. I'm about to get to it in a minute. But we don't see them as one. The gazru, but the chachamim came and they were gozer al tuma shelo b'shat melacha mishum tuma shehi b'shat melacha. That if they become tamei, even when they're not b'shat melacha, then both parts will be tamei once they're attached. Because if we don't do that, then I'm going to say, oh, the rabbi told me last week that since I only touched one blade and I was tamei, the other blade's not tamei. So the next week when I have the same question, I'm going to make the same psak. And the problem is that the next week's question was a different question, because then the blades were attached at a time that I wanted to use them. So I'm not going to know how to differentiate. And therefore they said, whenever they're together, for tumah halachot, to be machmir, or machmir, and if one side became tamei, the other side's tamei as well. And then it said, ala za'ashi b'shaton lacha mishum haza'ah shelo b'shlam lacha. And they're also machmir on the haza'ah, that what? That since the haza'ah only works b'shat melacha for both the sprinkling on one half, would only be beneficial for the other half if they were b'shat melacha, and not if it wasn't shelo b'shat melacha. So we got nervous that if we allow it when it's b'shat melacha, then you'll think that your item also became pure, the whole thing became pure, when you brought it to the kohen to sprinkle shelo b'shat melacha. And then it really only worked for the side that it got wet. So therefore we said it will never help the other side. So it's all midrabanan. Okay. But what do we see from here? I'll call upon him. Okay, it's very nice answer, very nice braita, we're learning very nice Torah. But how does it pertain to the topic at hand? And the answer is that we see over here that chibur in the braita is not a joke. Chibur means they have to actually be attached. Okay? And if they're not attached, they're not one keli. And that braita was being taught on the Mishnah that we spoke about before, about a bell and a clapper. And the Mishnah said a bell and a clapper is a chibur, is one. So there too, the Mishnah, which was the Mishnah that this braita was really speaking about, is speaking about a real chibur, not the way we try to interpret and say, oh, all it means is chibur. It means even when they're detached, they're like one, because a simple thing can put it back together. No, chibur means when they're together, just like this braita is speaking about when they're together. Ela Omar Rava. So we're back to the original question. Why did the braita say that the bells of a little baby, that their clapper got detached from them, are still mikabel tumah? Why? If the keli broke, the keli was only a keli, only a vessel that had properties that were able to be mikabel tumah because it had a bell clap. It had a clapper. Excuse me. Once the clapper is removed, however, says the Gemara, it doesn't still. So the Gemara says no. Okay, so the Gemara says it still is able to function as an old bell. Its old functionality has remained. Why? Because when the people in those days, when their clapper fell out, even if they weren't able to put it back in, whatever it was, they still used whatever they used, and they banged the thing against some piece of metal or cheres, or a piece of earthenware. And they still used it, and they still made those noises. So it's called me'ein melachto harishona, which means it's still doing its old job. so it never really broke. For example, if you have a bowl that falls on the floor and chips, it chips off a little piece, but it was still usable, and people didn't throw it out. It wasn't like a broken, right? Maybe that little piece of chip they threw out, but the bowl remained intact. So that's what's going on over here. You still use it for its old purpose. Itmar Nami, it was also stated, since he's still able to make that noise on a cheres, it's okay. It's good. Okay? Okay. So now the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Hoil v'royu l'gamea b'mayim l'tinoik. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, look, it doesn't have to be that it could do its old function, as long as you're able to use it as a little tiny bottle for a little child, and little children, I guess the bell was very small, but little children, you pour a little water or milk in there, and the kid was able to use it as a cup. Now, normally, we don't say that. Normally we say that if something breaks and it has a new function, you make up some new function, it has to have something of its old. But here, Rabbi Yochanan together, the Gemara feels, at this point at least, maybe it will change in a minute, that since a person can really put it back together, like Abaye said, it's not that broken, and it has some sort of functionality that you can feed kids, so you don't have to say that the reason why it still remains tameh when the clapper falls out is because you're able to bang it against something else. These two things together still mekabel tumah. So the Gemara says, you serious? So Rabbi Yochanan doesn't feel that it has to go back to its old work, old job? How can you say that Rabbi Yochanan doesn't require it to go back to its initial function? Ve'otanya, we learned, everybody knows what a zav is. A zav is someone who has an emission that's tameh. And the halacha is that there's a tumah that the zav creates by sitting on something that's normally sat on. Okay? And not only does he make that item tameh, but the chair that he sits on becomes as tameh as he is. He's an avat tumah, a father tumah. It's a high level tumah, it's the highest, second highest level, the highest level that a live human can reach. And the chair will remain that as well. So the pasuk says, "V'chol akliya sheyeshev alav." Any keli that he sat on, that he sits on, even if he didn't touch it, will become yitma. Yochol, I would have thought, kafas ta'avi yashav alea, kafat tekav yashav alea, yehei tamei. Talmud lomar asher yeshev alav. Mishe miyuchad liyeshiva yatzazeh she'amrim lo amod v'naseh melachtenu. So now, it says like this. Let's say I take a huge crate that they used to measure a certain amount of grain. Okay? Now, this big box held a certain amount of grain. They knew if you fill up grain that much, it was tarkav. What did they call it? The Gemara called it sa'ah, tarkav. Tarkav means 2 kabin. Sa'ah means 1 sa'ah, which is 6 kabin. Each box had a different measurement. That the Zav, he was tired. So he turned over the box on its bottom, and he sat down on the bottom. Right? Turned it over. Took the crate, turned it over, sat on it. So you would think that becomes tameh, right? Because he sat down on a keli. It's a keli, and he sat down. The Torah says if you sit down on a keli, it becomes tameh, and it becomes... So no, Talmud lomar, asher yeshev alav. Which means that he will sit on. Which means that he will desire to sit on it always, in the future. It has to be something that is a keli that is miyuad, is designated for sitting. But this one we tell the Zav that's sitting on, this is one of the most famous lines in Tarot, Amod v'nasim malachtenu. Stand up and let us do our job. Which means the crate, so to speak, tells the Zav, get off me. Let me do my job. Which means my job is not a chair. You're making me into a chair, very nice. But in the future, I'm not going to be serving as a chair, right? As a sitting place. I'm going to be serving as a measuring box for the Tvua. And therefore, the only item that becomes Tameh without touching, just by sitting on it, is something which is designated to be used for sitting. Okay? There's another halacha. The other halacha is that let's say you have a keli that is designated for sitting, and the Zav already sat on it, and now the chair already contracted all the tumah. It's called tumat midras, and then the chair broke, and now the chair cannot be used as a chair anymore. So we tell the chair the same thing, and we say, Amod v'nasebo menachtenu harishona. Let's see, Mr. Chair. Can you still function as you used to function? Oh, you can't? So then you lose your tumah. Since you can't be used as the old tumah, so you lose your tumah. Okay? So now, in order to become tameh, we don't really care, usually, only by Tumat Zav we care about Amod v'nasebo melachtenu. Meaning that's called Tchilat Tumah. Tchilat Tumah means you want Tumah to descend initially onto an item. So only for the halachas of Midras do we really care about is it used for this in the future or not. For all other Tumot, right, we don't want to make it Tumat Midras. We just, someone that Sameh comes and touches. For example, let's say the Zav wouldn't sit on the chair. When he sits, he's not really touching, he's wearing pants, right? He's not touching the chair. But it's a special tumah called tumat midras. Then we get very, very picky and we say, is it used as a chair in the future or not? But let's say the Zav would come and touch a chair. And when he touches the chair, it goes down a step like normal tumot. It doesn't remain an ava tumah. It's not called tumat midras, this fancy thing that he sat. No. He touches it. Then, or tumat mace that came into contact with a keli. Then we don't really care if it's nasim elachtenu, it's going to do, you're not sitting on it. Are you a keli? Did you come into contact with tumah? That's all we look at. The question is, what about sof tumah? Sof tumah means that we already are tameh, and we want to remove the tumah off of you. Okay? So, by Zav, we said that if the chair doesn't function as a chair anymore, so we tell the chair it's a kula in regards to Hilchot Tumat Midras. We say, look, you can't do what you used to do anymore. You were a chair, but you broke. So therefore, you lose it. What about all other types of tumot? So Rabbi Elazar Omer b'midrasot omrim amod nase v'nachtenu. Only when it comes to mishkav u'moshav, lying and sitting for tumat midras of a zav, do we say that the tumah pops off of them. Okay? Even though they're excellent vessels, let's say a chair breaks, and you can still use the chair as an amazing, I don't know what. Okay? But not for sitting. Only there, says Rabbi Lazar, we say it's not tumat midras. This very fancy tumah, that won't be able to descend anymore on the chair. Because we say amod, Mr. Chair, are you a chair anymore? No. You're the best keli. You're the best vessel for something else. But you're not a chair, so you're not going to have the tumah of mishkav umoshav, that special high-level tumah. But when it comes to mei meit, we don't say, okay, look, you're tamei from the met, but now you broke, and you're still very functional, but you're not the old function. So therefore, if I can't see you do that old malacha, then you lose your tumah. Rabbi Lazar says, we don't say that. We don't say that because as long as you're a keli and you were tamei met, you remain tamei. Okay? Rabbi Yochanan says, if it can't do its old function, even for tamei met. So the Gemara is asking, how could, this seems to contradict Rabbi Yochanan's own teaching. Rabbi Yochanan said, Rabbatai, if you remember, that if the clapper, the baby clapper, loses, the Braita said if it loses its clapper, and it was tamei, it still remains tamei. And Rabbi Yochanan said, why? Everybody asked why. It's not, it broke. And Rabbi Yochanan said, because you can use it for a little kid could drink from it. But here we see that Rabbi Yochanan says that even for the regular halachot of tamei met, we tell the item, stand up, and let me see you do your old function. Even for the halachot of regular tumah, if you can't do the old function, you don't work. So if you can't be used as a bell, Rabbi Yochanan would say, it's not mekabel tumah. So how does that work with Rabbi Yochanan's statement that said that if the clapper is removed, as long as you could use it for a different function, it's still mekabel tumah? So the Gemara says, Eipuch kamaita. Turn around the first one. Okay? Which means that you have to say that Rabbi Yochanan was the one who answered what Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina answered. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina said what Rabbi Yochanan said, and Rabbi Yochanan said Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina said. Change around the names. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina was the one that said this answer. That he went like Rabbi Eliezer, like Rabbi Elazar. And he said, as long as you could use it for anything to drink, it's fine. But Rabbi Yochanan's answer before must have been that you could still use it as its old function because you could take a kli cheres and still make noise. To change around. It's a very good, the Gemara is saying it's a very strong kasha. We have to change around the names. So the Gemara says, Umay chaz is the apchat kamaita, epoch batraita. Why do you change around the names on the first teretz? Why don't you change around the names in the second machloket, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan? Change Rabbi Yochanan's name for Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Elazar for Rabbi Yochanan. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan deboy meim melacha rishona. Because we already found somewhere else that Rabbi Yochanan was the one that said that has to do its initial job. The Tanan, standal shel behemel shel matris tamei. The horseshoe of an animal made out of metal, so it shouldn't get damaged. Tamei, it's roy lekabel tumah. Okay. So that can be mekabel tumah. Now, why is it mekabel tumah? Lemay chazi. How does it serve the purpose of man? Okay, the fact that it serves the purpose of the feet of the animal is not called a kli ma'aseh. The Torah says kli ma'aseh has to serve the purpose of man. Omar Rav. Okay, so Rav says ra'ui lishtod b'mayim b'milchama, because even though its main function is for the animals, it should be a horseshoe. However, once in a while, b'shat atchak, the soldiers would remove it, clean it up, and they would use it as a vessel to drink in the middle of war. Okay, Rabbi Chanina amar ra'ui lasuch bo shemen b'milchama. Okay, you could fill it up with oil in the war, and therefore it was initially made for two purposes. Okay, now, the Rabbi Yochanan amar b'shah sheborech min akrav menichu b'raglav v'ratz al gabi kotzev al bar kana. Rabbi Yochanan says that's not enough. The fact that it has a different function is not enough, because initially it was made as a shoe, as a horseshoe. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it's mekabel tumah. Because when a person is running away from the army, from the enemy soldiers, he puts it on his own feet, and he's able to run on very, very rough terrain, on thorny terrain, and all these things. And therefore, he's still using it for its initial usage. The fact that you're able to fill it up with some water or some oil is not enough for Rabbi Yochanan. So therefore we see that Rabbi Yochanan is the one that wants you to always be able to use it for its initial purpose. And that's why we'd rather change around the first machloket instead of the second machloket. So the Gemara asked, "My Bain Rav Rabbi Chanina." What's the difference between Rav's answer and Rabbi Chanina? They both say you could fill it up for water, you could fill it up for oil. What's the difference? So the Gemara says, "Ike benai demois." Let's say it's too dirty. So Rav is going to say nobody's going to drink from it. So therefore, it's not Mekabel Tumah anymore because no one will drink. Rabbi Chanina would say it's still Mekabel Tumah because even though I wouldn't drink from it, but it's still fitting to be filled up with some oil, and therefore it still has some functionality, and it's Mekabel Tumah. Ben Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. What's the difference between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina? If it's very heavy, there'll be a very great difference. Meaning, in a scenario where it's very heavy, I could still use it and hold it in my hand and fill up some oil. So it will be Mekabel Tumah according to Rabbi Chanina. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, that you have to have its initial functionality still somewhat here. So you say, okay, I have to run away now. So I can actually make use of the horseshoe to be my shoe. That's only if it's not too heavy. But if it's too heavy, I can't put it on my feet and run. And therefore it doesn't have its old initial function. Therefore it won't be Mekabel Tumah. Chazak Baruch. Everybody should have a beautiful day.